I wanted to get on here real quick, and I just want to talk about a book that literally changed my life. Now, before I get into this book, a few months ago, I was recommended this book by someone, and I wrote it off as just a book, that I kept in the back of my mind, but I never really had any intention on reading. But after doing some goal setting and some intention setting later this year, I came to the realization that I really wanted to read this book. And if you're watching this video, you know exactly who you are. I appreciate it. Thank you. But with that being said, the book is called The Four Agreements. Now, this book really changed me, okay? This book really broadened my perspective and really made me think about how I view myself in relation to the world that I create within my experience. What is an agreement, right? The four agreements. What is an agreement? We live in a very black and white society that is predicated upon the polarity of what is good or what is evil. And based off of these belief systems or this narrative in our mind, we create a very victim mentality, okay? The book describes the dynamic between what our brain, Don Ruiz Miguel, the author of this book, describes as the judge and the victim. And because our upbringing is so predicated upon domestication from not only society but our parents, we tend to judge ourselves and we tend to be very victimized within our own mind. An agreement is a belief system that you co-sign in your brain that you believe is true. The book heavily touches upon how, as people, we have not only been domesticated by our parents, but we start to domesticate ourselves. And as soon as we go against the beliefs of the people who instilled it into us, we begin to judge ourselves. We begin to have intrusive thoughts. We begin to live a life that's not even ours. I can compare this to how many people are actors, okay? And as a society, collectively, we're all acting a certain way when this isn't even our authentic selves. A lot of the time as people, we have dreams and we have aspirations and we have goals. And because of emotional poisoning, which the book also talks about, our dreams and our goals and our manifestations can be crushed by other people's societal programming. And when we begin to embody this emotional poisoning given to us by other people, we have now formed what is known as an agreement. Think of an agreement as a connection you make to a thought in your mind that you believe to be true about yourself. So if you can't sing, which is what the book compares it to, a little girl who was singing and her mom had a really bad day at work, and she told the kid that she was really bad at singing to stop singing. For the rest of her life, she stopped singing and believed that her singing was really bad. That was an agreement that she formed in her mind based off of the emotional poisoning that was given to her by her mom. The book heavily talks about heaven and hell as being states of mind. And I don't want to spoil the book for you too much because I really want you to read this book. But the book talks a lot about a personal heaven and a personal hell. As a society, we have what is known as the dream of the planet. The dream of the planet is pretty much the societal narrative that goes on within our everyday lives on a day-to-day basis. The dream of the planet consists of a lot of hellish-like vibrations. It consists of a lot of hellish-like people, okay? We are so predicated upon negativity as a society that it's so much easier for you to fail than it is for you to succeed. And as people, our successes and our failures are all determined in our mind. So when we start to tap too much into the emotional poisoning or the dream of the planet, this can now create these false agreements in our head that we believe subconsciously every single day. Society's hell can influence your personal hell. And if you allow society to play too much of a role in your individual life, then you'll start to embody the dream of the planet, the dream of war, hatred, not loving, disconnection from God, disconnection from source. And in our mind, we start to create what is known as the book of laws. The book of laws, even in society, is the laws that as people we must follow in order to be good boys or good girls. And individually, we create that for ourselves. If we go against our book of laws, we're susceptible to feeling guilty, to judging ourselves, to being negative, to being sad, and to being within this lower vibrational, hellish-like plane of reality or frequency. And in order to transmute this hellish-like frequency, this hellish-like reality that we live in into a heaven-like reality, we must embody what is known as the Four Agreements. Before I get into the Four Agreements, the book also talks a lot about these people known as the Toltec. Now, the Toltec were an ancient group of philosophers who had spiritual knowledge and spiritual wisdom, but because of, colonization and the misuse of said knowledge, philosophy, and lifestyle, this knowledge had to be suppressed. And through the 4 agreements, we are able to open up the knowledge of the Toltec once again. Now, getting into the 4 agreements, the first agreement is to be impeccable with your words. Now, to be impeccable with your words is to speak truth, speak with integrity, say what you mean and mean what you say. And even when it comes to ourselves, speak with integrity to ourselves. Don't lie to yourself, because really the only person in life that you're cheating is yourself. And because we are the highest creation of God, because we are not separate from the universe, because we are not separate from this God-loving like energy, to sin is to lie. To sin is to go to ourself. The worst thing you could do is to sin to yourself, because you are the highest extent of God's creation. So really, if you're committing a sin, you're really just committing a sin to yourself. Now, as I was editing the video, it came to my attention that I might have been a little bit confused with what I was saying. When I was talking about a sin, I wasn't talking about sinning as far as religion. No, this book completely disregards all sinning as far as anything that religion has taught us. The book talks about what a sin actually is and what it means to actually commit a sin. Not following the 10 commandments, not having to live your life according to a Bible or a book or anything like that. Not that there's anything wrong with that, but just not living your life based off of anyone else other than yourself. So that's what I meant. And to lie to ourselves and to other people is to commit a sin. So with that being said, the book talks about just speaking life, speaking with love, and just loving unconditionally. The second agreement is to not take anything personally, and this has specifically helped me out a lot. You know, throughout the last few months and things like that, I've been through a lot, and this book has really just taught me, don't take anything personally. Whatever emotional poisoning, whatever somebody is trying to project onto you, is just a reflection of who they are themselves. Because think about it. If you're talking to somebody, right, and you're happy, you're going to tell this person that the ideas that they have is great. But if you're in a negative vibration, if you're in a negative mood, the ideas that they bring to you are not going to be as good, because that's just your perception of how you feel in yourself being projected onto other people. You shouldn't take anything personally. Nothing is personal, even compliments. The only thing you should take personal is the way that you view yourself in a positive way. The third agreement is to not make assumptions. That's another one that's helped me out a lot. Do not make assumptions. You don't know what other people are doing. You don't know what other people are thinking, and you will never freaking know unless they tell you. And even then, people sugarcoat things. You would never truly know unless you lived within the body and the mind of that person. Do not make assumptions, because when we assume, we start to create these false illusions, these false narratives in our head that we somehow trick ourselves into believing is 100% true. But when we actually find out the truth, that shit didn't mean anything. It was not true at all. And the fourth agreement, the last agreement, and my favorite agreement is to always do your best, okay? I'm the type of person who I walk with integrity. I walk with a purpose. Every time I'm walking, I walk straight. I look straight, because that tells me and that tells everybody else that I know what I'm doing. I know where I'm going in life. I have a purpose, and I have a way of getting to my goal. If you're doing something, anything, do it with your best foot forward. And even then, even if it's not your best, try your best, okay? But what I say is, don't try, just do your best in being healthy, do your best in working, do your best in everything, so you can reap the biggest benefit from whatever you did. And the book talks way more about other topics, such as what is known as the initiation of death. It talks a lot more about real life examples, and it talks a lot about ancient philosophical knowledge. But I'm not going to get too much into it, because I really want you to read this book. Now, like I said, this book really changed me, bro. And this book really inspired me. I've never wanted to actually read a book until now. And through reading this book, I read this shit in like a week. I'm not even gonna lie. I was reading this book every day. This book to me was a true page turner. You know, I'm not sponsored or anything like that, but I practice what I preach. And if this really worked for me, I'm gonna let you know. But with that being said, I love myself through you. We're gonna rock out. Have a beautiful, bliss, productive, and successful day. The 4 agreements. Thank you. Peace.